I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything. I pop off with the new rock, electronic.
I want to share the first 2 chapters from Hell House with y'all. There's been so much hype about this book and how crazy creepy it is. And if I ever get my paperback reading life together, this one will be donezo real soon. But I was definitely excited to read some of it tonight to y'all. So here we go. Alright, so chapter 1 is Dan. "Hey Danny, wait up," Steve yelled after me. Closed my eyes and took a deep breath. If I didn't turn around, hopefully he would stop calling me and let me go. He was the biggest slob I'd ever seen, and I'd been around my share of slobs. The stain on his shirt from lunch was still on there, hiding behind the mess he called a beard. Smeared from his big belly, hitting the greasy old car all day, it looked like a swatch of blood, like the hot dogs he ate that day bled out all over him. It made me want to get home faster. "Danny," he yelled again. "Dan," I replied through my teeth. "That sounds so stuffy," he whined. Steve's voice sounded like he never fully made it through puberty. It screeched and jumped all over the place. When he talked, I wanted nothing more than to rip out his vocal cords and strangle him with them. I even dreamt about it a few times. Those were the dreams I never liked to wake up from. "What are you smiling about?" he asked, pulling me back into the moment. "Nothing. What do you want?" "I have to go." "Going to the strip club tonight. Want to come?" He danced around when he asked, like one of the bitches he was about to go watch would. Any moron that found that entertaining needed to be taken out, but he wasn't the one I wanted. No. "Aw, man, come on, you never go with us," he whined. "I have better things to do than watch a bunch of sluts wiggle their asses on some stage. See you Monday, Steve." "Whatever, you're weird, Danny," he spit out. I waved him off and raced to my car. Once the door was shut, I took a deep breath, fixed my hair in the rear view mirror, and started the ignition. I had done nothing but think about her all day, and it was time to show her how much she meant to me. I would make her famous forever, and that was the best gift any woman could get. Soon she would join the others, and I couldn't wait to see the look on her face when I told her what her future held for her. Traffic was horrible, and it took me an extra 20 minutes to get to the house. I had the door open, was half out before I even put the car in park. All I thought about that whole day was my little cougar in the basement. Man, she was a looker too. Her light brown hair that curled around her perfectly made-up face, and the way it rested gently on her shoulders got me going every time I looked at her. Then there were her eyes. I loved blue eyes the best, but her chocolate brown doe eyes had me hooked. Tried to fatten her up since she came to me, but that wasn't easy to do. Bulimia was a real thing, and the poor creature had it. She threw up everything I gave her, and it was sad. I worked so hard to make her the foods I knew cougars ate. I did my research and even found people who would sell me the meat she would need on the web. I even gave her a few of the bones to chew on because they said it was good for her teeth. She wouldn't touch them, and after the second day of her rejecting all the things I'd done for her, I lost it. She didn't want to chew on the bones? Then I made her. I had to put my hand down my pants and calm myself. Thinking about the way she looked with the bones sticking out of her mouth and the blood dripping from the corners had me going so bad. I wasn't sure I could make it down the steps to her without handling things myself first. I didn't want her to think I was a Minuteman, so I would have to take a minor detour to my room first. A few minutes later, I was back on my way to the basement. My wildcat had waited long enough. "Here, Cougar, come out and see me. I want to play with you, and I brought you dinner," I said softly, as I finished with the 3 locks on the door that kept my pets safe. "Please go away," I heard her sob. Her voice wasn't as strong as it was the first few days I had her. I missed the strong wildcat I had gotten. The one in front of me was weak, and I hated weak. Now, that isn't very nice, is it? I go out of my way for you, and that is what you have to say to me? I love you. Don't you love me back? "No," she said and spat in my direction. She was lunging as far as her chain would let her, and while it annoyed me that she was so unappreciative, it also turned me on. "I know what will make you happier." I turned around and looked at the table laid out in the corner. I had all the things on there I needed to tame a wild one like her. She would learn quicker than the last pet I had. I was sure of that. The teddy bear I had before her, that one wouldn't learn no matter what I did to her. She made me so sad because I really liked that one. She was a chocolate bear, and she tasted as sweet as honey. but she was mean in so many ways, and when she tried to bite off my dick, that was when I had to put her down. Turned back to my little wildcat and brought the stick with the metal hooks on it closer to her. She was so small, curled up in a ball, naked on the cold floor. I almost stopped because of how pathetic she looked, but she needed to be put in her place, and I was horny. Taking the stick, I shoved that up her butt as I got ready to enter her. Her screams of agony only turned me on more. The timing was perfect. She begged and begged for me to stop the whole time I was going, and as soon as I was done, she was silent again. That was the one thing that made me want to keep her. She knew what I needed and when. If I could get her to stop being so stubborn and rude, she might be the perfect pet. Cougar? Shook her gently at first, but when she wasn't responding, I shook harder. Her head rolled side to side as I tried to get her to answer me. I looked down to see the pool of blood leaving her body from where I had jabbed her with the iron stick. Reached my hand down and smeared it across the floor. It was beautiful. I drew her a picture with it, so when she woke up, she had something pretty to see. "I'll be back later to check on you," I whispered in her ear before kissing her cheek. She felt cool to me, but it wasn't as warm out as it had been earlier in the week, and the basement reflected that. Tossed her dinner at her feet before making my way back up the stairs to cook my own food. Playing with my pets always made me hungry, and seeing all her blood on the floor had me craving a steak. Very rare. I went back down to my wildcat after dishes were put away and I had taken my shower. She was in the same spot she had been in when I left her 2 hours before. "Damn it," I hissed. "They're all weak. Not one of my pets live long. Why do you let me get attached to you if you are all going to leave me in the end? Selfish, stupid, rude cougar." Took her head in my hands and hit it against the floor. The first thud was the best sound I'd heard in months. As her skull cracked and blood began to pool at my feet, the wet smacks were even better. I hit her head over and over until my arms hurt. She was the one that was going to fix me, and she let me down. I sat by her lifeless corpse and pulled my legs into my chest. Rocking myself back and forth next to her, I sobbed at the loss of another pet. The feeling of being hollow inside was creeping back in. I was alone again, and it was worse than all the times my mama would lock me away while she went out to sleep with the next man she would let rock her world. I hated that feeling, and I refused to let it stick with me for long. Luckily for me, I wouldn't have to wait long. It was the next day, and I had to get groceries. It wasn't my favorite thing to do, but I didn't mind cooking. I was paying for the things I needed for the week when she walked by the big windows. She was perfect. Threw the money at the cashier and took my cart out to the lot. My car was on the other side, but I had to follow her. She would be the one that would save me. I knew it in my heart. She was the most perfect thing I'd ever seen, and I had to make her mine. The little kitty cat had to come home. Watched her move like a graceful creature. She looked sweet, innocent, kind. She would have to take care of me and give me what I wanted when I wanted it. She would be the piece I was missing, and because of her, I would be whole again. I knew it. I could feel it. I followed her for a while. Her hair caught in the sunlight, and the golden waves bounced with every step. She had a small frame, but looked healthy. I knew I would be at least a foot taller than her, and that was perfect. No woman should be over 5.5 feet, in my opinion. Any taller wasn't a woman, but an Amazon creature. She couldn't have weighed more than 100 pounds and would make making love so right. I could feel my hands around her waist and her body bouncing up and down on me. I could imagine how wet and warm she would be on the inside, and I knew I had to have her. Then she turned around. Her face was like she had been sculpted for God himself. She was so pale and pure, like she hadn't had anything ever ruin her perfection. Her lips were so full and red that they almost looked like she dipped them in blood before leaving her house. The part I loved the most about that was because she was beautiful. No one would have ever questioned what she used to make them so red. Then there were her eyes. She had the most piercing blue eyes I'd ever seen. I could have looked into them forever. "Charlotte, are you ready?" Another girl approached her, and she turned to smile at her. She wasn't nearly as beautiful as the one I would make mine, but it also showed me that she could care about other things than just her looks. "Yep, I just have to load this in the car, and we can head to the park," my creature said back. There was only one park around, so I knew right where she was heading. I raced back to my car and loaded the food I'd bought in the back. It would have to wait to be put away. I had to follow her. I had to know her. I had to make her mine. So that's the first chapter. That's Dan's chapter. Thanks for hanging in there, Watson. I promise I'm not going to read too much and spoil it. Just gonna give you a little taste of these wonderful first 2 chapters. But yeah, this book escalates very quickly already. So, you know, I know that we just had our co-writes backstory, but I do so love the variety of books that Brain and Olivia write. I mean, we really run the gamut here of all different types of books and stories, and so I just really appreciate that about you two writing together. So it's like the perfect match.
I think I've had enough.